We have another statistical assumption that tells us that dependent variable observations must be independent of each other. So this requires us again to look at this data set and determine what our what our dependent variable is. So we know we have some participants who had some data collected from them. There was an intervention, some sort of intervention that happened, and then data was collected after the intervention. And then this differences column here is telling us the difference in test scores before and after the intervention. So our pre and post intervention these are two categorical matched pairs. These function as our independent variable because they're not influenced by anything other than the intervention, right? This does not depend on anything else. But our differences depend on our independent variable. They depend on the intervention. They depend on what happened between our pre and post intervention. So our differences depend on our independent variable. So we know that this is our dependent variable. The assumption states that the observations must be independent of each other, which means that they don't rely on each other for anything, which makes sense. We can look at this and say we have 20 separate participants. So participant 1's score does not depend on participant 7's or 6's score. So these are not influenced by each other. These are all separate people with all separate scores, and they don't rely on each other. So our assumption that our observations for our dependent variable must be independent of each other is met in this particular data set.